Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I'm glad you're here. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit more about ancestors in one specific way, and that is that often, well, I'll explain just a little bit more. As I do a session, I'm always clearing ancestral energies. Sometimes I'm working in the ancestral field and your field at the same time, or a client field. Sometimes I'm working in those fields separately in all the ancestors' information in the ancestral field that's beyond our own biofield. So we have, just for anyone new, the we have our own biofield. Our electric body is inside it. Our biofield is like our mind that stores our memories and emotions that we had at those different times in our lives, and it stores a record of that. And so our own biofield is the electrical field about 5 to 6 feet away from our bodies in every direction. It's in a toroid shape, kind of like a donut or an apple. And then beyond that, up to about 35 feet away from the body, is the ancestral field. And so I find the ancestral information there, and I clear it in the ancestral field, and I clear it in your field. Sometimes I work in both the fields at the same time. Sometimes I find ancestral information and clear it just in your field, which sometimes it appears just in your life record. Sometimes it appears in the ancestral river, which is streams of DNA energy on either side of your body. So your father's energies and the record of his ancestors would be on your right hand side. That information on your mother's side is on the left. And then after a session, when these energies are cleared and released, then I almost always have ancestors from each client that are ready to transition. We've all the 5 things that they need to transition into the oneness have been met, and they're ready to go. And so anyway, and then as part of it, I ask the client to hold a an intention, or say a prayer or a blessing for the ancestor. It doesn't really matter what words you use. You can say something like, thank you for being part of my life, or thank you for being here today, or it doesn't even have to be thanks, just your willingness, your wish for them to go on further to the next phase in their spiritual journey is okay. Just your willingness to be present and to allow um, that to happen, that they want to happen to their energy, is what's needed. And then they tap into, the way I feel it is that they're tapping into their energy within you. They're not like taking energy from you. They're not using you. It's their energy that exists in you that they use to combined with their guardian angel or their higher self, however you see that energy. And then that creates enough higher voltage so that when they step into the vortex, the positive ley line vortex, then they can transition. That's how it all sounds to me. But as you hold your intention for the ancestors, and as the intention or the prayer or blessing, and then as the ancestors get ready to transition into the vortex, I ask them if they have a message for you. And almost always it's love and gratitude for your work and for helping them. Um, Often, though, it's a very specific message just for you and what you're going through in your life. And sometimes it's a different type of message, which is what I want to talk today about. Sometimes there are any number of ancestors. Sometimes there's one, especially if it's just, say, it would be your parent or the client's parents that I'm working with. Usually that energy is so strong that only one can transition. It will take up all that voltage and to go. So there's usually only one. Plus, it's a big emotional thing. So I think that ties into the play to allow you to process that. Sometimes it's the same way with a grandparent that you were close to, that only one can transition at a time. Sometimes, as the generations get further from you, or if in your life you haven't known much about your ancestors, then many can come because there's not those emotional ties and well, there's the spiritual ties, but not the emotional ties that um, take up some of the voltage and stuff. And so sometimes I have, like I said, one, if there's a parent, one ancestor. I've had as many as several hundred come, be able to transition. And that's when we cleared something really big in the ancestral field, and many ancestors were able to come and further their journey and finish clearing that and raise their voltage to what is needed. And it was a beautiful thing. Um, Often there might be three, four, five, eight, 10, and the numbers, many of the numbers carry a meaning in the numbers. Like if there's eight, often it's a spiritual message of abundance, not just for you, but for the universe, and but for you too, and this abundance that's created in in your ancestral field now, in your lineage, that you can pass down to your children, or those that you hold a parental um, mentorship for in some way, or for your nieces and nephews. It all plays out in a beautiful way in clearing this ancestral energy. Um, Same way if it's a four, four is in feng shui is more of the abundance number instead of eight. And often the number is five. Sometimes there's five, sometimes there's 50 or 55 or 500. And when there is a specific message given with the numbers, I'm always made aware that it might not be exactly that number of people, but it might. Um, but the main message is the meaning of the number itself. And so today we're going to talk about what the meaning of five is when we're working with our ancestors in our biofield. And so I wanted to start. Today also starts Leo energy. And so I pulled an oracle card. I'm using my tree oracle deck because we're spirit beings, and our biofield is uh, our spirit. It's the spirit of the universe and the ether around us. And so I wanted a spiritual message for us today. And the card I drew is the holly. And right away, to me, the message is very clear. Oops, I'm trying to get it so the light shines so that the reflection doesn't obscure the card, or the picture on the card, so you can see it if you'd like to. This tree angel is showing that they are in alignment, that they can hear their spirit, that the hemispheres of their both sides of their brain, both sides of their biofield, right, are working in harmony, are calm and balanced enough that it's working in harmony, the energy is flowing in harmony, and they can hear their spirit and live as the spirit being we're meant to live from, to live in alignment with our spirit. So to me, that's the big message of the Holly card here. And I wanted to also read the message here in the little booklet that comes with it. And this is a deck by Fred Haugenetter, and the pictures are by Anne Hang. We all know that the holly is prickly, a characteristic we may not like. But the holly's thorns also spur us on or even wake us up. Just as its distinctive leaves are clearly defined, and if you don't know what the holly is, often you see it at Christmas. It's kind of has a triangle at both ends with a curve in the middle of it. So it curves down and around and down. Just as its distinctive leaves are clearly defined, with holly, the mist suddenly clears, enabling us to see all kinds of things with clarity and good judgment. They're saying just as the thorns often wake us up if we're pricked by them. We may still experience painful disappointments, but at the same time, we also gain an understanding of our untapped power. It enables us to take up the sword of truth and spiritually cut through the veil of illusion that was clouding our perception. With Holly, we outgrow our fears and start to view life with a new clarity, realizing that things are not just black and white, good or bad. With Holly's medicine, we can see the variety of color in our rich and often complex lives. Holly, therefore, often marks a crossing or turning point and shows energy and a deeper personal integrity. With the holly at our side, we can do spiritual battle if we have to. And regardless of whether we feel we win or lose, we can maintain our composure and our higher purpose. Yet beware, this blessed sword of the holly will only remain with us if we use it to help us on our unique spiritual path of truth, of expressing our own truth. Its purpose is not to scare off or injure others, but to aid our perception, our spiritual understanding. Holly represents a test of ourselves. Without the power of Holly, we remain in half light, ensnared in illusion and fantasy. We become comfortable in our self made world and only seek our own advantage. Eventually, we may even become cowardly or weak. And I don't know about you, but this really relates to my journey this week. So before we get into numbers, which also plays a part in this, I'll share my story here. I have a lot of blackberries. We have a number of blackberry plants and raspberries. The blackberries don't have thorns, but the raspberries have thorns. So we talked about the purpose of the thorns is to wake us up for understanding. And and so our raspberries are done producing, but I was picking the blackberries. But there's not this week there was a lot of deeper meanings and symbolisms for me in my own personal growth. And so I was working in the blackberries, and it happened 2 nights in a row. I was stung by a wasp. The first one was on my left forearm, and the second one was on my right finger. And each time it stung, I haven't been allergic to wasps in the past. Um, and they must have had a nest in one of the blackberries or something. I don't know, in the blackberry plants or vines. And so, anyway, I do herbal medicines. And so I just walked to where I knew a plantain plant was growing. It's not the banana type of plantain, it's another herbal plant. It has um, nice leaves that are just kind of almost an oval shape. You can also get plantain that are just a longer rectangle shape. In places where it's cooler temperatures and the weather, there's a lot more rain and cooler temps than we have here. The leaves on plantain can grow large. Anyway, my plantain, um, it's nice if the leaves are kind of like this size. Otherwise, they're even smaller. It doesn't matter. And so, anyway, I went to where the plantain one place. I have it all over my yard, but I went to the first one I saw, picked a leaf, chewed it up. That's what you need to smash it up because it's the juice inside that does in the leaves that does the work, and so it draws out venom, snake bite, um, wasp bite, right? And so then, yes, I spit it out and pasted it on there. I chewed up another leaf and added that, and probably a third leaf, and then I just used some painter's tape, blue painter's tape, to wrap it around there to stay on for a few minutes to take the swelling out, and the pain was gone in a little bit. It never did really swell up at all. The same way with the next night when it happened on my finger. So these things are happening when I'm having this inner revelation um, uh, today or this week about the need to rest, to not keep pushing and pushing, to just rest, and also the message that that clearing our biofield work isn't just for inner healing, which it is very much for, but that inner healing is what allows us then to enjoy the pleasurable moments of our current life in a much better way, in a much more happy, relaxing way to enjoy our lives daily. Is when those old patterns are cleared, that resistance is cleared, and we can enjoy. And at the same time, when the patterns are cleared, it ties into the holly, that we can then be in harmony, our electrical field in harmony, our mind and emotions more and more in harmony. So it's becomes easier to then stay grounded, to stay keeping the hemispheres of our mind working in harmony, so that we can hear our spirit and listen to that guidance, and then express that guidance we receive in the creativity and the work, our life purpose work, whatever that may be, in and expressing those passions and desires that only we can express in the way the universe needs them expressed, because someone else in the world needs that, or the universe itself needs that vibration in just a certain way at that certain time that we can give it. And so um, that's what my uh, inner work was like, and I knew that the hornets was to draw attention to, or the wasp bite, whatever it was drawing attention to um, my need to just rest, to be in inner alignment, and not just be pushing to get things done, or worried about what will happen if they don't get done in time, or whatever it is I was working on. And so, just like the universe, to bring in how the holly, both in its pricks to draw attention to it, and in the inner alignment that is needed in our energy field and in our mind, in our heart and soul, so that we can express these spirits' desires. And that's a big change in our lives as we come more and more able to listen to our spirit, and then to express those desires that we can. Um, we can leave those old stories behind, and more leave them in the dust, or recognize them quickly and acknowledge them and dispel that energy, and then move on how into the harmony that is ours to live in every day, and to experience the magic of the universe in our everyday lives. My um, bigger change, and that goes along with that, came just a few moments before the podcast began. And I've struggled with overwhelm, the feeling of overwhelm, quite often in my life. I get overwhelmed very easily for different things, if things just aren't working out the way I expect them to, or if something's going wrong, it's easy to be overwhelmed, and then I lose my focus and go to pieces, so to speak. And so, especially technology does that for me. Technology isn't my thing that comes easy to me to work with when there's a problem, and so I would become very easily overwhelmed. And so, anyway, I have been had been feeling a circumstance came up. I won't go into the circumstance now, but um, I became so overwhelmed, and I was overwhelmed with all the work there is in my home. And this does have to do with the feng shui lessons that I'm learning to be a feng shui consultant. And in doing so, in learning these internally and making the internal changes, which is what feng shui in the ancient Eastern philosophies was meant to do, is to as inner healing work, just as acupuncture is for inner healing work. So is the feng shui, because our homes are like another layer of our biofield, another layer of ourselves, and reflecting our needs and problems. And so my husband and I live in this old house. It's 125 years old and was neglected at different times. And so there's a lot of work needing done. And we've lived here about 6 years, and the amount of work that it needs is so overwhelming that we basically did nothing. We loved to garden, so we worked in the garden. I painted this room, and I painted our bedroom, and that's about it. We really didn't do too much. My husband did a couple paint rooms that he painted for his purposes. But that's it. We haven't fixed big problems. There's too many big problems, and it's just overwhelming. And so we had done nothing. And so this was about feng shui. I was working in on an area, and it became overwhelming, and I got really angry, and I realized I was overwhelmed at all the work there is to do with the house, and how this individual problem with it that I kept working on wouldn't just fix itself. I would try something and it wouldn't work, and I'd try something, it wouldn't work, and I'd keep doing, and it just isn't turning out the way I had hoped that I could really love, and that would maintain easily and be able to clean easier and look really good, and all that sort of stuff that we like to have for our house, right? And so I was becoming very overwhelmed with all that there is to do and all of the problem. And and then as I was talking this through with my instructor, and talking about this frustration and overwhelm and everything, it really came to me that this was the overwhelm. It was fear, of course, fear that I'm not enough to do it, that I'll never heal enough to change my vibration so that everything works out the way I want it. Like, so money flows in tremendously. I've grown a lot in my mindset to not be as much lack, so that I no longer worry that we'll have enough. I know we'll have enough, but I want I want more than just enough, right? I want a steady stream coming in, so that I don't have to struggle as much to do a budget, or to track the spending as much, so that I can do what I want to when I want to, with my friends or family that I want to do it with, and that there's always that money. I think we all want that, don't we? And so my underlying this fear, this overwhelm, was the fear that I'm not enough to do it, that I'll never clear enough to make that happen. And and then I realized there was a deeper layer, that this overwhelm was not just that I'm not enough, but that maybe the universe is laughing at my struggles. And then I realized, that it's not going to respond, and it doesn't care that it's laughing at me. And then I realized it related back to a sexual trauma when I was 3 years old that I'm still healing from, because I didn't know it happened until about 6 years ago, 5 years ago, and found it in my biofield, this terror that was there, and so many other related circumstances. And so it's only been a few years since I've been healing from it, and I blocked it out for 60 years. And so I've been healing from it and looking into it. And so this was yet another layer that my fear was that the universe was laughing at me and had no intention of changing my vibration, no intention of letting things in my life work out pleasantly. And this related to the man in the sexual trauma laughing at me as I struggled to get away. And that's huge. And um, anyway, so this is this big change is what I wanted to talk about, because the number 5 is about change. So my inner healing, our changes, whatever these deep emotions are that each of us carry that underlie our old stories. Um, that's the deep inner change we all want to need. It's just that it takes so long to find them sometimes, to really realize what that change really is, and what the problem really is. To quiet our mind, it's always supplying all the extra reasons of what might be the reason or what might be the cause or the feeling. And sometimes, like for me, that I discovered this morning, it was so deep and so raw, and I had no idea that's what spurred this overwhelm reaction pattern that I've had most all of my life. And so I want to read, to me, the biofield, or us, spirit, and the spirit in the universe is magic, right? It's how we allow the universe and this energy of the universe and our own energy to integrate together. That's the magic to me. And the book I'm reading about is all about magic. It's by Kim Woods. I've taken several of her classes, and to learn more about the energies of the universe and how we can integrate with them. And so I was looking into when these ancestors would come, when it first started coming to me, um, and ancestors were coming in fives at different times, and it happened repeatedly, for a length of time, and still occasionally I get a 5 or a 50 or a 55. And so I asked the ancestors then, well, what does this mean? I mean, yes, I looked in the book and read the meaning, but to get a more specific thing, just like when I'm reading an oracle card, I can read the book and get the general guidance through the book, but it's in looking at the picture and tapping into spirit and allowing that magic to happen in helping me understand the message for us today, for me today. That's the magic. And so the magic in when ancestral clearing and I get the 5 is to ask them, what do they mean? What does the 5 mean for them? And the 5 meant a big change. And when it came, which it is a big change in the ancestors' lives. They've got to the point, they've come for the clearing. They've met those 5 things that my book talks about. The ancestors need to transition, and one of those is clearing their stuck emotions, harmonizing their biofields enough to raise their voltage high enough that they're able to go. And so it's about this change where they can transition then into the next life. And back, into the oneness, and then maybe come again in another life after they've healed more, or met their needs, other life needs up there, whatever that may be. And so, but sometimes it comes as 50, which is a zero. So I ask, well, okay, well, what does the zero mean then with the five and such? And the zero is about your spiritual walk, it's about spiritual change. And so together, it highlights this inner change we all need, of being able to harmonize our field, listen so that our mind quiets and our old stories minimize, and we can listen to our spirit and follow that guidance, and then fully express our own selves, in the way that the universe needs us to fully express it, and that we need to fully express it to complete our journey and to finish learning, from those, and all that we can learn and grow from in fully expressing those. So I'm going to read now a little bit portions from this book about the number 5 and the number 0. So in this energy and spirit, in magic of the numbers, um, it talks about each of the numbers, 0 through 9, have a universal law that is attached to each of the numbers, and these differ from the standard 12 laws of the universe. These are just the magical laws of the numbers, and this is what the tarot cards are based on, when the numbers and the tarot cards. And they're these numbers, then this magic and energy, these universal laws that are used in the tarot, are the natural elements of the world and astrological influences. And so the numbers 0 through 9 create a natural arch, in the sequence of the numbers, and 0 through 4 involve wholeness and, your inner self work. And then 5 through 9 involve other people, with the changing at the 5. So that's why changing, 5's about change, because it changes from the self to others. And so the number 5 itself is, the law of life mastery. It's about change, expansion, and sensing. Um, it deals with the number 5 deals with change. It's unpredictability, instability, uncertainty, chaos, wild vibrations. Can you see how that played into my overwhelm? How that kind of describes overwhelm, or what leads to my overwhelm. It's about being our human experience and our 5 senses. It's about travel and adventure and being in motion. That's how change happens, if something is in motion. To be prepared for change and action. There, it might refer to changing relationships, changing expressions of joy, or changing life circumstances that require your mastery of life. And mastery of life meaning to align the hemispheres of your mind, to harmonize the energy in your field, so you can tap into your spirit and listen to your spirit, and clear these old patterns, so that we're not always reacting in those. So it's not the old patterns of anger or overwhelm or fear, or whatever pattern it is, sadness, that is running our inner being, but that it's more and more this life change, this life mastery of becoming spirit beings and living from spirit, instead of letting those, emotions from the physical world drive our lives. And what I found really interesting was that this number 5 is ruled by Mercury, and we're in Mercury retrograde now, which causes or brings about a lot of these unpredictabilities, instabilities, and things, especially with tech, but other things too that occur in retrograde, Mercury retrograde, to bring us opportunities to have these old patterns come up to be cleared. if we can remember to tap into those and acknowledge those and allow them to clear. And so it also is ruled by Leo. And Leo, the astrological energies of Leo begin today for the next month. And it's also about air needing fire, the air element in meaning, and the fire element in the astrological sign, and the air in the number of your astrological, like your natal chart, your house number, which sign you're in. It's a mental and spiritual combination, is what the number 5 is all about. And so this plays into Mercury retrograde and Leo. And then I'm going to read, because sometimes the ancestors, many times it's 50, right? Or 500. And and the same way this happens when it's a number 8, there's 80 sometimes, or 800. And so the 0 is about innocence and faith. It's innocent, which is listening to your spirit, right? Spontaneous, curious, playful. It's a breath of fresh air, which again is much of Leo, I believe, too. The life force of the Great Spirit. It brings joy and new life. So again, for the ancestors, it's that big change in their spiritual life. For us, it's the big change in our spiritual life too. Representing the child within us, just as I found that the deepest meaning behind the overwhelm was from my inner child, from my 3-year-old trauma. Helping us be The 0 is about being inquisitive, expressing our feelings without reservation, having fun with life, enjoying all those moments of our current life that we have every day, searching for truth and seeking to grow. So that's the law of 0. And then there's a little bit more here I wanted to read about repeating numbers. So when we have a 55 or a 500, so that would repeat the zeros. The 5s, it doesn't go into zeros repeating, because 0 is just 0, I guess. But they all repeat. It means the universe is trying hard to get our attention, and the meanings of the numbers take on greater significance. So the universe is trying hard to get our attention by using repeating numbers, whether it's on a clock that you look at, or other signs that you might see, or things you might look at and have that pop in. Wow, a 111 or a 22222, or the dates of the month, like for Leo, the 8/8. The August is the 8th month, and the 8th day is always the portal, right? A special significance. Or in July, it would probably be the 7th day of the 7th month, right? And so when the repeating 5 means change is upon you, to stay flexible, nimble, and be completely open to the change. Welcome it, even if it feels chaotic, difficult, and uncomfortable. Mastering life's lessons is worth the discomfort. And the meaning of 5 is about change. It may be unpredictable, unstable, or even chaotic, but it's here. The change is upon you. Lean into it, as it provides an opportunity for life mastery. The 5 is a combination of the elements of air and fire. Air needs fire, so call upon these elements to either feed or temper the fire of change in your life. And which to me and others of you that are born in an air sign, I'm born in Aquarius, which is an air sign. So I can call on my energies of my sun sign and the energies of change there, of fire, to help with these changes. And so multiple fives, it means there's a big change coming to you. It can be exciting or scary, and you got to remember that your mind really can't tell the difference, or your body can't really tell the difference between the vibration of fear and the vibration of excitement. It's your old patterns that you've come to um, learn these patterns, so that when a certain thing come, then your mind automatically interprets it as fear. But you can learn to tell your mind and train your mind to receive it as excitement in change, or in anything coming, instead of just as fear. So train your mind to receive it as excitement, and that's as easy as when you feel that fear within you, when you feel that reaction in your old pattern, just stop and acknowledge, yes, I'm receiving it as fear. And yes, it could be scary. I mean, it's an unknown or it's a change, but I choose to receive this as excitement. We have that power to tell those emotions how you want it to be, and thus train your mind more and more to receive it as excitement instead of fear of this change coming. But this, it can be exciting or it can be scary. You decide. It said we have that power to decide. No, this change that we're in right now for Leo and for Mercury retrograde and for this healing time in our lives, that this life experience as the five is also about life mastery, about learning to live a spirit, about, and it goes into the five spiritual chakras, which is the number five, of course. The five spiritual chakras are knowing that you're a spirit being, and knowing that your spirit is meant to lead and guide your mind. The second one is about having the desire to live as spirit, and learning, then if you have that desire, you can learn to align the hemispheres of your brain and take action to harmonize in sound treatments, in sound therapy, or other type of things with tuning forks or singing bowls, or using your own voice to harmonize your biofield, so that you can listen to your spirit, align those mental energies, listen to your spirit, and live a spirit. That's the second one. The third one is that conscious choice that I was just reading about. We have that choice. We can choose to receive this change as excitement instead of fear. So that's our choice, our conscious choice. The fourth one is then to learn to live in harmony with the abundance of the universe, and receive that the universe is bringing all these changes, anything that it brings into our life, to use for our highest good, so that we can make this life mastery change. And the fifth one then is to fully express our spirit's desires. So once we then can listen to our spirit and hear our inner self and what those desires are, that we're wanting to bring into this world, through artistically, or well, many things are artistically, anything that you're developing and bringing and giving birth to is a creative process. And that fully expressing our spirit's desires for the highest good of all, not just for our own um, well being or our own benefit, but for the highest good of all, um, is what we need, because the universe, because we're such integral parts and made of the electric particles, of light particles of the universe, and the standing waves of the that the universe flows in. We're such an integral part and made of all those, that unless we fully express our own spirit's desires for the highest good of all, that's the only way we can be all we are meant to be. And it's the only way, if all of us do that, that the universe can be all we're meant to be. And that's why ancestral clearing is so important, because the ancestors lived that life for them in changing, but has still have all the stuck energies that exist, as we find in ourselves, because it contributes to all our old patterns. And so as we clear ourselves, as we clear the ancestors, it allows not just us to be fully us, but it allows then the ancestors. It changes time in all the dimensions. It and the ancestors then can be, for the universe sake, all they're meant to be as well. And so I wanted to go into a little bit more of Leo's energies now, because it ties exactly into this. Leo's energies have a powerful surge of self-expression and creativity and confidence in these new beginnings, in these changes we're making, to encourage us if we tap into these energies. It encourages us to lead with heart, to hear those passions and desires, to express our own truth, however that plays out, and however you're wanting to express it, verbally or artistically, or through a program or course you're creating, or through whatever change you're making in your life, is your expression of your truth. And to take center stage in our lives as Leo energy of that king of the jungle, to step into making those changes happen in our own life by listening to our spirit and finding out what changes are needed and how we need to bring those into fruition. And I find it very, very curious how the universe works. I was going to say internet works. Well, I don't know how it works either, but how the universe works, because this Saturday is a Friends of the Way Forward gathering, a community gathering that I am speaking at. So I'm taking center stage for a few moments, and it's about stepping into all I can be and giving a message that can help others in some way more fully step into their center stage and being the king of their own lives. It's about claiming our power and moving forward with purpose and passion, these passions from our heart. Leo symbolizes courage for taking the leadership in our own life, again, in the self expression of our passions and our heartfelt actions. It's about awakening our inner fire and setting our intentions with confidence. And so that is all about my message today of the number 5, meaning this life mastery change, this change in our lives, the change that Leo and the energies of Leo and the energies of Mercury retrograde, um, and the energy of the holly, and how the universe uses all these things in our lives for our highest spiritual good and for the highest spiritual good of all, so that we can more fully have this confidence and bring our gifts, our passions into fruition in this world for our own restoration, to restore ourselves to the spirit being that we're meant to be, to harmonize our biofield in clearing the stuck energies and clearing the things that are out of harmony, and making these adjustments and changes in our biofield, in our mind, which is our mind, and in our lives, so we can be restored and have this mastery of our lives and living as spirit beings. So thank you very much for listening to me ramble on today. Please like the video if you do, or subscribe, and to help others find it too, if you find it helpful for you. And I'll let you go then, and I'll catch you tomorrow on Wednesday. This week, every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central Time, I'm doing a shorter biofield tuning for whatever topic I'm given by Spirit to lead on, as well as to just tap into the energies of listeners and clear what needs to be cleared each day. And tomorrow I'll be tuning us to be more fully able to take advantage and integrate with Leo and Mercury retrograde energies. So thank you very much. I'll catch you tomorrow, hopefully, and next week. Bye bye.